Credit money is a new, even more perfect and powerful tool for managing people, as well as a very convenient and liquid means of exchange. For most ordinary people, credit money is first and foremost a means to an end. We all want to live well, we have many different desires that we want to realize. We also have natural needs that need to be satisfied. But, unfortunately, we do not always have enough money to realize all our goals and fully satisfy our endless needs. Most of us are constantly short of money, regardless of our life. Such is human nature, our dreams and desires always run ahead of our capabilities. And if we want something, then we need to find a way to get it, regardless of our real capabilities. And since people had to somehow solve this problem of the discrepancy between their desires and their capabilities, they came up with a form of money that we now call credit money. And it must be said that this form of money, to some extent, justified itself, since it really opened up new, broader opportunities for people, using which we qualitatively changed our lives. It is enough to pay attention to the property that each of us acquired with the help of loans to understand that, despite all the shortcomings, loans nevertheless made our lives richer. Having displaced gold money, credit money allowed the economy of most countries in the world to make a sharp leap forward, which led most people in these countries to a higher standard of living. After all, what is really important for our society, to have secured money, secured by gold or something else, or to be able to quickly and without unnecessary problems make transactions with each other? What the hell difference does it make to us what we use as an intermediary in the exchange of goods and services? The main thing is that this intermediary is equally valued by all of us and accepted as a means of payment. Any money at all, as we already know, is a conditional value, thanks to which we exchange real values in the form of goods and services. We trust those values that we mostly share. Your gold and any other precious metal will have no value if, say, I and other people refuse to accept it from you in exchange for the goods we produce and the services we provide. Only the recognition by all people of one or another conventional value and their agreement to use it as an intermediary in the exchange of goods and services makes this value valuable. If we are talking about credit money as a generally recognized value that we all accept, then we will value and trust this money. If we agree to exchange goods and services with the help of some shells or beautiful stones, then these things will become a conventional value for us, that is, a commodity intermediary between the parties exchanging something. And therefore, when they say that the Europeans bought Manhattan from the Indians for beads worth only $24, this does not mean at all that the Indians were stupid. These beads were their conventional value, while they lost their land due to aggression from the Europeans, who simply exterminated them. Let's turn our attention to examples of credit money, that is, to those very conditional values for which we are ready to sell something today and can buy something. The evolution of credit money has gone through the following stages of development. 1. Bill of exchange. 2. Accepted bill of exchange. 3. Banknote. 4. Bank deposits. 5. Check. 6. Electronic money. 7. Credit cards. Let's take a closer look at each of these examples. A bill of exchange is a written monetary obligation of the debtor, drawn up in a strictly established form, under which he undertakes to pay a certain amount of money at a specific time, in a specific place. In turn, the holder of the bill of exchange, the bill holder, under the bill of exchange, has the right to receive a certain amount of money from the debtor at a specific time. Simply put, this is a simple receipt obliging one person to give the agreed amount within the specified time, and accordingly allows another to receive this amount. An accepted bill of exchange is essentially the same as a regular bill of exchange. It is simply supplemented by the payer's signature on its payment. That is, the payer becomes the acceptor, that is, the main bill debtor, who is responsible for paying the money on this bill of exchange within the established period. A banknote is an obligation of the bank that issues banknotes. A banknote is an open-ended debt obligation. It is secured by a guarantee from the central bank that issues it. In most countries of the world, central banks are state-owned, therefore, it is the state that guarantees the value of the banknotes issued by the central bank to people. Bank deposits are valuables transferred to the bank, by the owner of these valuables, for placement of these valuables in the bank on certain terms. Urgency, repayment and payment are the main terms on which these valuables are placed by their owner in the bank. Simply put, you agree with the bank, in writing, of course, on the terms on which you are ready to provide it with your money for a certain period. You, for your part, lend the bank money for a certain period of time, and it pays you interest on this debt and returns it to you within the agreed time frame. A check is a monetary document that is a written order from the owner of a current account in a bank, in which he, the account owner, orders the bank to pay a certain amount of money in cash to another person, or to transfer this money to the account of another person. That is, by writing a check, you thereby order the bank to give your money to someone. I think it will be easier to explain the essence of this document to you this way. Electronic money is, my friends, my favorite money, because it is very convenient for quick settlements. Electronic money is the issuer's monetary obligations in electronic form, which are on an electronic medium, which in turn is at the disposal of the user, that is, the owner of this money. Electronic money is the same money as the money that you and I are used to holding in our hands, and the basis for the functioning of this money is the usual deposit circulation. I would call such money an obligation in electronic form, that is, exactly the same conditional value as all kinds of shares and bonds. Only, unlike all sorts of shares, the value of electronic money does not fluctuate and is equal to real money. Credit cards are a bank payment card. We are all familiar with such cards, at least most of us know what we are talking about. The bank provides us with certain funds, an established limit, for use on credit, in accordance with the terms of the credit agreement, using a credit card, which we can use at our own discretion. In essence, this is a simplified form of credit, because it is very easy to use a credit card. Easy for both us and the bank. Here, all these things are our modern beads, shells, and skins, using which we exchange various goods and services with each other. All this is credit money. I may have missed something, for example, shares and bonds and a bunch of other crap that we consider valuable today, but I think you understand the meaning. We are talking about those financial instruments that allow us to make deals with each other today on certain terms. Today, numbers on a computer screen, and even the same toilet paper with portraits of American presidents, allow us to use, first of all, human resources. But in reality, they are nothing at all, just pieces of paper and numbers. All these pieces of paper and numbers, given their unstable liquidity, are essentially air that materializes into real goods only due to a more or less stable socio-political situation in the world and in a particular country. But we value this air, we sell and are sold for this air, we give this air on credit and then work off this credit, creating real values. The money that we call credit is nothing more than a specially formalized debt, a simple obligation of one person, physical or legal, to another person, which is supported by law, that is, a legitimate form of violence. Strictly speaking, there is nothing behind credit money, absolutely nothing, except our consent to its existence. Without a government guarantee, such money is worth nothing at all, because we are talking about a debt, which, as we know, must be paid. Just think about it, you took out a loan, went and bought something with it, but you didn't work for it, not a penny. That is, you parasitized on someone, you used the result of someone else's labor, without doing anything yourself. Yes, you must return the money you took out on credit, according to the conditions on which this money is issued, and return it with interest, but this return can stretch out for years, while you consume real goods and services today. What does this mean? It means that today anyone, or almost anyone, can take the goods available in society and use all the services available in it, without giving anything in return. But excuse me, friends, all those goods that we have today do not fall from the sky, they are produced by people who, by the way, have to work for this. You cannot climb into the refrigerator and take something from it that you did not put there. Either you or someone else must put food in the refrigerator so that they can be taken from it later. Credit allows you to consume goods and services that are the result of someone else's labor in the present, but on the condition that you will then work off your consumption. In order for this entire credit and financial system to work, it is necessary to maintain high discipline in society so that the money taken on credit is returned by the people who took it on time and is returned at all. Otherwise, we will simply devour ourselves. However, when we get carried away with this game called life on credit, smart people understand such a phenomenon as a crisis, and thus stabilize the financial situation in society. Today you eat and do nothing, then be prepared to pay for it tomorrow. You understand, if everyone does nothing but consume everything and in large quantities, and does not work at all, then sooner or later all the benefits will end, and we will be left with nothing. However, the parasitic nature of man does not care about this. People eat until there is something to eat, and when everything around ends, they begin to suck their paw. The development of credit money, meanwhile, has allowed the modern economy to become more flexible and elastic, which allows the population to be occupied with business and thus use its energy to create a large number of various goods. And it does not matter at all what this or that currency is backed by. The main thing is that people work hard for it, producing what our system and we ourselves need. Here, you understand, is the advantage of credit money. It is quite effective in stimulating people to work. Most people do not know how to save money, do not know how to plan for several years ahead, do not know how to set long-term goals and consistently achieve them. They do not see beyond their own noses. What is here and now, they understand, but what can happen under certain scenarios of events, under certain actions, they are simply not able to understand. Therefore, it is useless to tell a simple-minded person that he will reap tomorrow what he sows today, whereas giving him a toy today so that he will work for it tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, is much simpler. True, not all people want to work after they consume something thanks to borrowed money, but this seems to be a solvable problem, through both legitimate and illegitimate violence. If you borrowed money, be kind enough to pay it back, and if you can't, then work it off, otherwise certain measures will have to be taken against you, the purpose of which will be to cultivate responsibility and decency in you. That's exactly the law by which today's money issued on credit lives. Today, you can have money put on your credit card in a matter of minutes, when you, say, take out a small loan on the internet, which is actually very easy to do. A few minutes and the money is in your account. I myself was very surprised when I found out about this. You only need to enter your passport details and nothing else is required of you, and a few minutes later they approve your loan and transfer the money to your account. And this money can be spent on real things and services. You can just go, withdraw money from an ATM and spend it. That's the kind of economy we have today. And, oddly enough, it works. Just don't forget that this money is not charitable assistance to you from a bank or non-bank credit organization, it is a debt that you must repay. And I wonder why this model of credit and monetary policy would not work. If a person took $1,000 from a bank and has to return $1,200, which he needs to earn somehow, which means he needs to do something useful for society, for which people will pay him money and he will be able to return the loan, then isn't this a profitable deal with society? It turns out that money made out of thin air is transformed into real goods after this money passes through the hands of those who take it on credit. This is a very profitable exchange. This is the whole charm of credit money. It allows its creators not only to receive the goods and services they need from society, but to have power over this very society. If you sell yourself for money, it means that you are subordinate to it, and it, the money, is subordinate to its creators. Think for yourself, why back money with gold or something else? Why? So as not to print it in large quantities. And why do the owners of money need this? Is an excess of money or the depreciation of this money through inflation a problem for them? They don't give a damn about that. What's important to them is that people toil all day long, produce goods, serve them, the masters, for their money. And in such a situation, it doesn't matter at all what motivates people to work, be it credit money or some great idea, like communism. The main thing, I repeat, is that people work and submit to the power of money. Then from the crowd it will be possible to create a society organized in a certain way, which will be under the control of those who have money, or rather, who produce it. Just think how easy it is to print money or enter a certain amount of money into a computer and give it to a person as a loan. Well, this is a very primitive action, you must admit, but what great consequences it leads to. A person who took out a loan will not only go and provide another person with work, spending this money, but will also be forced to do something himself to repay the debt. Simply put, the crowd is set in motion by the money injected into it, the value of which is determined by the crowd's faith in this money. And it is quite obvious that the one who prints money will always have it in the amount he needs. Well, what shoemaker, friends with his head, will leave himself without shoes? Meanwhile, people are ready, well, if not for everything, then for a lot for the sake of money. However, some are really ready for everything. People are even ready to kill and die for money, which for them is quite easy to print. And today, thanks to the development of computer technology, you don't even need to print anything. I loaded money onto the card, in the form of a code of zeros and ones, and that's it, the conditional value is ready. Use it, dear ordinary people, or better to say, work and pay off your debts. However, I do not want to say that credit money is bad. In fact, credit money, secured money, beads or shells, all of this is nothing more than intermediaries between people, helping them, people, to negotiate with each other. And how we will do this, negotiate with each other, does not depend on money, but on ourselves, on our nature. On what conditions we agree to interact with each other, on such conditions we will do it. And money, being a tool in our hands, will work according to our human laws, and not according to its own. And if we do not like something, if someone exploits us with the help of money, then loans have absolutely nothing to do with it. Well, think for yourself, what would we do without loans, with our demands, when, damn it, not having time to buy one car, a person is already looking for another? We are too insatiable creatures by nature to live within our means, so we get into debt up to our ears in order to grab as much as possible. And banks, they simply give people the opportunity to get something they want, right here and now. Today you can even get money from a bank with a bad credit history and without guarantors. You just need to come there with your passport and sign a few papers. Opportunities, that's what we got, thanks to loans, and how we use these opportunities depends on our brains. When we get something in our life very easily, and a loan allows us to get a lot very quickly and very easily, we continue our movement by inertia towards even greater consumption of various goods. The inability to control one's appetites is what really is the problem of those who get hooked on the credit needle. Greed, stupidity, laziness, these are the true enemies of man. When some of my partners in the old business went into free swimming, their unbridled appetites led them to a broken trough. Many of them lost their businesses, and even got stuck in debt holes. It must be understood that by nature, man is a very greedy creature. He can grab until someone stops him or he chokes. Of course, there are reasonable people who know when to stop everything, But such people are a minority. While there are a lot of greedy and insatiable people in this world, they make up the overwhelming majority in our society. The lack of a sense of proportion will inevitably lead a person to ruin. You don't have to go to a fortune teller to understand this. And if, because of your greed, you are buried in loans that are strangling you more and more, just stop digging. If a loan brings you only problems, it means that you don't know how to use it. Admit this sad fact for you. Credit money is very useful for the economy. It significantly speeds up the money turnover and reduces costs. It also allows for non-cash payments, which, as you understand, significantly simplifies the work of many types of business. They really work for our benefit. Unfortunately, we have not yet been able to introduce anything else into our lives, nothing more beneficial for all of us. What alternatives can we have? A bright future, an equal society in which everyone takes from everyone as much as they can and gives to everyone as they need? To hell with such a life. Thank you, we have already lived in this equal society, where some people were more equal than others. Of course, things are not as smooth with loans as we would like, and I would even say that they are contraindicated for fools, but judging by our attitude towards them, they suit us quite well and we agree to play by the rules of the usurers. We agree, because we take loans and repay them. And loans, allow people to be loaded with productive work, without which we cannot do, even though most of us want to do nothing and at the same time live very well. The development of credit relations has led us to the fact that such examples of credit money as bills, bonds, checks, varieties of electronic money, have become the subject of speculation. So, on all these conventional values, you can make good money, and for some of us, this is sheer blessing. Even debts are bought and sold today, since without collecting the debt from the debtor, loans would lose all meaning. In general, we have more than enough opportunities to spin, profit, get rich and go broke. And with or without debts, we want to have everything we do not have, and we continue to want it. Life in debt, of course, is more interesting than life without debts, but debts must be repaid, and unfortunately, some of us are not ready for this. And in most cases, debts have to be collected by force. Humanity has not yet come up with anything more effective than kicking the shit out of debtors who do not want to repay debts. So our life today is very cheerful. There are so many ways of redistributing goods between people, both honest and dishonest, that in any deal with anyone, we need to think everything through very carefully, so that God forbid we do not make a decision that is disadvantageous to us. Credit money, since it is symbolic money, necessarily requires state guarantees for its effective functioning. Any debt obligations, no matter who issued them and on what terms, are absolutely meaningless if no one pays them. Therefore, it is extremely important that socio-political stability is maintained not only within a single country, but also preferably throughout the world, with full control by the government of each country over all financial institutions under its control. People are not so developed and organized to independently adhere to all those conventions, thanks to which we maintain more or less human relations with each other. Sometimes they need to feel the fear of punishment in order to remember their conscience. And finally, speaking about credit money, it should be said that despite all the shortcomings that such money has, taking into account the interest rate and all that, it is this money, given to people on credit, that allowed us to achieve our current, fairly high labor productivity, thanks to which our standard of living has increased significantly. Just think about all the businesses that were created thanks to credit money, not to mention the life of each of us, in which things began to appear that we cannot afford without credit. How convenient this is for each of you, decide for yourself, but I will say again that credit money is the form of money that is currently most relevant for our society, taking into account our desires, needs and human nature in general. A person must work to feed himself and others, and it does not matter at all what exactly and how will make him work. If it is money given out as a loan, then it will be money, but if the whip and iron chains force a person to work, then whips and chains will be used in our society. Personally, I think that loans are better than the whip and chains, which we, thank God, have abandoned. We want to have a lot here and now, and if we don't have it, we will lose the desire to work, without which, as you understand, we will have nothing. Credit is only a stimulating tool that stimulates a person to work by bringing certain joys into his life, for which he is ready to work.